Quickie. I'm burned out from the Baratheon video, so this is going to be short. Let's get into it. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, Episode 5. In the Name of the Mother. To begin with, I do wish we saw more of the combatants, gave them more dialogue. At least the Beagle a little buzz this episode. I also would have liked to have seen Baelor bring up the tourney lancers. They're longer than war lancers, and so it means that they'll hit their opponents before their opponents hit them, in theory. That's from the novella, and it feeds into Baelor being this strategic commander. It's not in the show. It's not super necessary, but it would have been a nice touch. Of course, one last shout out to the colourful, sigil-full armour. Wonderful. It's just so cool. Why was the Septon a child, by the way? Just me? Why has he got the broccoli cut? Why has he got the Zuma cut? So I'm kind of rambling a bit. I like this episode. Just straight off the bat, I really like this episode. Great episode. Flashback time. Okay, so I thought the flashback worked. So I went into the episode knowing there was going to be a flashback, so it wasn't a shock to me. It wasn't abrasive. I was ready for it, so I am coming at this from a different perspective to most viewers. I didn't find it to be pointless. For one, I think half an hour of pure fighting wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. Like a 30-minute muddy slog wouldn't have. That's not an episode of television. And two, it proved to be very illuminating about Dunk's background and motivations. Was it super necessary? No, but I did find it to be a nice addition. Although I do agree it dragged on for just a bit too long. Frey spotted. Let's go. Every Frey explained. Why is he a redhead though? Why does this Frey look more like Edmure Tully than show Edmure Tully? In fact, this Frey looks like book Edmure and show Edmure looks like a book Frey. Anyway, the actor for young Dunk was great. He really did look like a young Peter Claffey. Those blue eyes. The Irish accent. The actress for Rafe was also great. You know, the harsh gutter rat, a product of her environment. I love how gross King's Landing was this episode. This is right after the Blackfire Rebellion, so the conditions on the streets pretty shit. People are flogging looted armor. The wounded and dying are on the streets. Law and order seems to have broken down somewhat. You've got the gold cloaks here are just corrupt thugs. It's very funny seeing the differences between the elite militia of Daemon Targaryen versus these like grimy twats. Again, feeds into the idea of the waning power of House Targaryen. This flashback tells us why Dunk is the way he is. He wants to stay in King's Landing as a young lad. He wants to be safe and comfortable in his status quo, even though it's a shit status quo. He fears that the outside world might be worse. His friend/girlfriend, Rafe, teaches him to stop waiting around for a mother who's never going to return, to instead grab life by the balls and just go out there. This explains why Dunk goes to the Ashford tourney, why he braves the life of a hedge knight, why he's potentially lying about his knighthood. He also learns a different lesson from Rafe, not to be a thieving rogue. She pays for it with her life. Dunk is not one for theft, right? In episode 1, he bemoans the fact that he doesn't want to, that he might become an outlaw if he runs out of coin, and he isn't happy with Plummer telling him to rig the joust and all that. Like, he's not a sort of dishonest thief character like Rafe. While Rafe inspires him to leave the city and to not follow her path, the biggest inspiration comes from his sir, the drunken hedge knight he has such fondness for, despite the old man's abusiveness and aloofness. He was saved by him. A random drunk stranger risked his life to protect a boy. Despite Sir Arlan's flaws, he is ultimately a knight who protected the innocent, and Dunk took this lesson to heart. One of my favourite moments of the show so far has to be Arlan bursting out of the tavern to save Dunk. It's messy, chaotic, drunken, borderline absurd, yet I found it oddly emotional for some reason. Sir Arlan's also definitely not just motivated by his oaths, but also the death of his nephew who died during the Battle of the Redgrass Field, and there's a grave for him we see later on. Probably explains why Arlan's getting so drunk, and yes, maybe why he saves this innocent child. My main critique of this flashback is that the montage of Dunk following Arlan goes on for way too long. Like, it should have ended after Dunk is saved, and then he follows him out the city and then like falls over, Arlan picks him up, get up. We didn't need the long montage, the Dothraki singing. That time could have been transferred to the trial. Not even necessarily the fighting, but the pre-trial. The strategizing from Baelor, more dialogue for the contestants, etc. Also, why is Arlan singing in Dothraki? Like, how does he know? How does he know Dothraki? It's an odd language for him to know, because Dothraki don't usually travel across the narrow sea. Like, did he learn it from sellswords or merchants? I don't know. How's that for a nitpick? It's a good episode. I'm hunting for nitpicks. Of course, the transition from Arlan telling Dunk to get up to Dunk getting up. Genius. How did they think of it? No, it's simple, but it's effective. The show has earned it. Now for the battle itself. It genuinely might be some of the best medieval combat I've ever seen. It was heavy, clunky, brutal, sluggish. You can understand why they call knights medieval tanks. Every hit felt real. Every wound contributed to the fatigue and the pain of the combatants. This wasn't like the Battle of the Bastards or the Long Night. And with these more fantastical, large-scale battles, they just weren't grounded. And so the stakes felt lower, despite story-wise them being being objectively higher. The physical acting from both Peter Claffey and Finn Bennett was excellent. Peter in particular, he looked like a puppet dangling on one string. It was incredible. I do understand that some people wanted to see more of the Trial of Seven, the Fossaways clashing, the Targaryen siblings clashing, Daeron throwing himself out of the trial early on, the Laughing Storm actually laughing, imagine that, the death of Harding and Beesbury. But ultimately, I'm fine with this battle being mostly from Dunk's POV. The sound design and the general choreography. We do see flashes of other parts of the battle, and we see horses racing in the background and lances being splintered and everything, but yeah, it's mostly Dunk. The sound design and general choreography is excellent. You know, the breathing in the helmet, the ringing, the sudden loud cuts to other skirmishes on the battlefield. I would have liked to have seen Dunk play a little dirty, you know, a little flea bottom, or at least for that to be more obvious for the audience. Because in the novella, he thinks to himself, Aerion can vanquish Sir Duncan the Tall, but can he vanquish Dunk from Flea Bottom? And he plays a bit dirty, right? Maybe the flashback should have shown young Dunk making a specific move against the Gold Cloaks that he then uses as an adult against Aerion. I don't know. I didn't know Peter Claffey could enhance his dote status even more, but yeah, he truly is the Dunkest of all time. And Finn Bennett's portrayal of a spoiled prince who's out of his depth compared to the more kind of crazy Viserys style, that's a choice that has grown on me, ultimately. I do kind of like it. His teeth look sharp as fuck in this shot. What the hell? Are they broken, or does he just have dragon teeth? I'm also going to echo what Quinn said on our live stream. Shout out Quinn the GM. Egg's role is improved from the source material. He's actively contributing to waking Dunk up and stopping the trial from ending prematurely. I only have two nitpicky criticisms of the last chunk of this episode. The sword throw was kind of goofy. Swords don't really work like that. It was very late stage Game of Thrones. And I also hate the trope of the fake out death where the character's eyes are wide open, but he's unconscious and wakes up. Like seriously, when you go unconscious, your eyes are not just wide open staring like you're dead. Did Dunk just die for a few seconds? The ending was very powerful and more intimate because instead of being out in the field with everyone watching like in the novella, it's in this smaller, closed-off, intimate area, which I do think enhanced it. I also appreciate the wound looking more dramatic than it did in the graphic novel. Pacing-wise, this was the perfect place to put Baelor's death. End of episode 5, and then episode 6 gets to be the fallout. What do I give this out of 10? I give this Accent Corner out of 10. That's right, you thought I forgot about Accent Corner? Never. Right, so young Dunk has an Irish accent, just like the adult Dunk, nice consistency. His childhood friend Rafe also has an Irish accent, suggesting that this accent is local to Flea Bottom, a more rustic dialect compared to the posh Targaryen nobles, you know? Alistair the Gold Cloak and his companion have sort of Scouse/Liverpudlian accents.
I'll have me ale skin back.
I'll have me ale skin back. Scouse accents come from Liverpool, so that's the north of England. So Flea Bottom characters so far have Cockney accents, Mancunian accents, Durham accents, Irish accents, and Scouser accents. A real melting pot, specifically designed to force Americans to turn on subtitles, which they're not doing because they cannot read. Also, I genuinely struggle to work out Arlen's accent. He's so drunk, I don't know what he's going for. Right, that was Accent Corner, let's go. Let's go. If you want more detailed ramblings about this episode, check out my episode discussion with Quinn the GM on this channel. I give this episode a very high 9. 9 four-legged Blackfire dragons out of 10. I also retroactively bump every previous rating I've given this season down by 1 because recency bias made me a bit too hype, and also I'm just a cunt. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments. Subscribe for more reviews and A Song of Ice and Fire content, like my recent animated history of House Baratheon. Like the video if you fuck with Accent Corner. Special thanks to all of my patrons, in particular my highest pledges, Andre, Caden, Colshot, Connor, Devcole, Itchaboi, Elias, Morphy, and Pioneer. Happy Dunkentine Day. Happy Valentine's Dunk. Alright, goodbye.